Good day to everybody. Welcome to ASPE. I'm Joe Gallo, and I'd just like to give you a couple quick administrative points as we go along, and then we can get into the serious part of the webinar. First off, you should be aware that all the content of the webinar, either from the presenter or any participant, is strictly for educational and informational purposes only. We're not going to attempt to do any diagnostics or any personal discussions throughout, and suggest that your medical advice should be sought from your medical team. So use what you learned today, but then take that to see your own doc. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mark Lichty, the chairman of ASPE.
Thank you, Joe. And I want to welcome all of you to this webinar, and I really want to thank Martin for making this connection with Ken. I'm very excited to see what Ken has to offer, and I want to remind you all that the webinars that we've done have been posted, and Active Surveillance Patients International has a respective voice in the active surveillance space, and to please encourage you to share these webinars with folks, because there's folks in need that don't know about us and don't know that there is really good guidance on navigating active surveillance. I really want to share for just a second about my own journey, because it relates directly to what Ken's going to talk about. 16 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And at that time, I extensively researched, including the China study. And you all have done that too, I know. And we read extensively when we're diagnosed. And finally, I decided that I would follow the route of vegetarianism. In fact, my choice was raw food, and that's what I've done for 16 years. And in fact, in my last micro ultrasound, which we had a webinar on that, and which is, let's say, equivalent to a MRI, they were unable to find any cancer. And the side benefit for me of the raw food diet has been, I've only been sick twice in 16 years. And I have to admit to you that I am far from perfect in my diet. You know, I eat cookies once in a while, but if the diet's too weighty, it's hard to follow. If we're too strict, we give up. And so I have an overall diet that I'm 98% compliance on, and I waver a little bit, but it works. And so that having been said, the interesting thing is on this board, we have folks with various diets. Not everybody here that's on the board has a vegetarian diet. We're a remarkable band of independent thinkers. And but what the board is consistent about is to bring you the best information that you can get to make informed decisions. And on the issue of diet, I've read with interest about, for example, the keto diet, which reduces carbs and increases fats. And that's not my diet, but I'm fascinated to learn about the keto diet. And so this is your organization. If any of you have diet or lifestyle topics you want to talk about, and you know of an expert that we could offer, let us know. We'd welcome your input. And just another comment on this board, we are a reflection of the active surveillance population. We have two men long on active surveillance who transitioned elegantly to treatment. Joe, who just introduced me, is one of them. And today, with proper research, you don't have to fear treatment, as I did 16 years ago. Obviously, we really want to encourage active surveillance, but don't be bound by fear. And so our mission is to advocate, to present you the best information for you to make an informed decision. I believe, and we believe that with the evolution of active surveillance, we don't need the undue anxiety. And that's why we speak of peaceful vigilance. In your journey, whether you seek treatment or not, there are you can find a place of peace. Whether or not you seek treatment, you can find a place of peace. And by the way, we're not the only organization that can give you some guidance. And this might seem strange that Active Surveillance Patients International is plugging other organizations, but you need to know about them. There's organizations like us too, and Male Care, Prostate Cancer International, ANCAN, PCRI. They all offer support in this process. But if you do transition to treatment, I hope you'll remain with us because we need your stories. We need to know that, and we need to share that people can make these transitions without pain and with great success. And as I said in the past, we want you at the end of this call to feel more peace than you did at the beginning. And we firmly believe that you can have an abundant quality of life and find a peaceful vigilance in the active surveillance process. I want you to know, too, that Ken, as all of our speakers, has donated his time. And Ken, thank you for that. He believes in helping men such as you. And I understand that Ken's going to be moving to Italy after this. I didn't get a chance to talk to Ken about that, but I'd like to. By the way, I wanted to invite you all too. We have a special event on October 2nd. You'll get notice of that, but it's an event just to meet the board. You know, kick up your heels, bring a joke. It's a freewheeling event that we'd love to invite you to. It's to belatedly celebrate Prostate Cancer Month, which was September, but we couldn't fit this in September, so it's on October 2nd now. So know that we're a band of brothers and you're part of it. And we just want to share what we've learned to make your journey peaceful. And I've found that the friendships that I've forged in this brotherhood of the prostate are some of the best friendships that I have in my life. We need volunteers to keep our work going. And if you volunteered and I missed it, please try to volunteer again. We don't have paid staff. We're just trying to do what we can to help you in your process. And so we hope, I don't know whether Jeff is here to make a pitch on donating, but I'll make that pitch, I guess. If you care to, please keep us, consider donating and consider joining us on October 2nd. And with that, I'd like to introduce Martin Gerwitz. And Martin is a member of the board. He is a very, very thorough research. I've been very much impressed with his thoroughness, and I don't need to say more about that. I've said too much already. So Martin, it's your show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your kind words. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are. I'll make this brief. I want to welcome all to what I think is going to be a very exciting presentation with nutritional and health information that you may or may not know. Again, I'm Martin Gewirtz. I'm a member of the board of ASPE, and I invited Chef Ken Dorr to give us a presentation of what he loves to do. He loves to prepare healthy plant food-based recipes, which he has implemented at San Diego's Optimum Health Institute, and he practices in his own kitchen. Why are we here? Well, after I started active surveillance, which is basically for men with very low-grade prostate cancer and don't need aggressive treatment, I attended the Optimum Health Institute for 3 weeks, and I witnessed firsthand the protocol of plant food-based nutrition and other health concepts, which I adopted when I returned home. And I found subsequently a tremendous difference in my life. I just want to address the fact that, you know, nutrition and what to eat while on active surveillance or even on treatment for prostate cancer is a subject that's widely discussed. Many doctors and health professionals simply recommend a heart-healthy diet. Some dismiss a change in eating habits altogether, that they make no difference. Nutrition is basically given short shrift in medical school. It boils down to individual choice from your own research and practices. And you may have discovered a nutritional lifestyle like what Mark was talking about that works for you. And as he also remarked, ASPE's mission is to provide information only and not medical advice. So it's up to you to make a choice based on your own research and comfort levels. And I want to emphasize also that this is not a webinar solely about nutrition for prostate cancer or any particular health challenge. I know we have visitors who may have just interest in what Ken's expertise is and what he has to offer. So I want to welcome all of you as well, and welcome those new to our organization to visit our website to learn more about us. And last but not least, you'll find that we are going to be closing the chat box during Ken's presentation. We will reopen it afterwards for you to type in any questions you may have. Please make notes during the presentation if there's something you'd like to know, and simply type in the chat box in large letters, caps, question with a colon, and proceed with your question. And one caution, we may not be able to get to all the questions asked since some will have been sent beforehand, but I provided an email address in the chat, and I'll keep putting it in so that you can send your questions to that email address, and we will answer as time permits. So I think with that, all I have to say is take it away, Ken.
Hello, everyone. I want to start, and first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining in with this, I would say discussion, because I typically teach and get questions and we have a discussion, but this presentation, and then I welcome questions because I think that there is a lot of power in questions. One person, there are no silly questions. One person having a question might affect a number of people, 10 or 20 people might have that same question, so I welcome that. I do want to start, though, before I get into it, by making some acknowledgements, because I think what ASPE is doing here is just phenomenal. And I want to thank the board for having me, Martin, absolutely, and also Bill, Jeff, Joe, Mark, Howard, Threen, David, Philip, and anyone else that I haven't mentioned. It's remarkable what you're doing, and I applaud you for it. I just need to get something off my screen here. Okay, so what I'm here not to do is to shame anyone, to prescribe anything. I'm really here to share. What I am here to do is to share and hopefully inspire people. I'm sharing my story, and or parts of my story. We'd be here all day if I was sharing my story, but parts of my story and how I got here. I had a passion for food at a very early age. My grandmother, if you fast forward from the time that I was a kid, I had a passion when I was a whitewater rafter, and I was surrounded with a lot of other guides. And those rafting guides, some of them were, at the time, we considered hippies. They were making meals or sharing recipes of much more healthier meals to share with our rafters that were on 6-day trips through the Middle Fork of the Salmon River in Idaho, and also the Maine Salmon, and in California, many different rivers. So I grew up since the age of 14 running whitewater rafting trips and taking people down for many, many years and preparing meals 3 times a day. And so I learned a lot in that time. And I always had that passion for healthy food in particular. And if you fast forward, beyond that, I got myself into a situation where I was eating a lot of processed food as I was growing up. And there were some tragedies in my family that also led to some emotional eating. Now, some of you can probably relate to emotional eating. And that I gained a lot of weight. Now, when I got into my 40s, I had some, what we call at the Optimum Health Institute, which is where I work here in Lemon Grove in San Diego area, what we call health opportunities. And this a number of health opportunities that I had was high blood pressure, which makes sense if I was eating processed food and a lot of fatty food and things like that. And so, but I still adored recipes and making meals. And so about 16 years ago, I had a couple of pretty drastic health opportunities. And one of them was with my liver, and a very gunked up, I would say, not quite a fatty liver, although that can happen, but it wasn't, and I was not pre-diabetic or anything, but I had some liver issues. And I also had, in turn, I realized that the liver is also connected with our heart and our blood pressure. And so it was a direct relationship between what was going on with my liver and my blood pressure, which had spiked tremendously. And the turning point for me was I was in a doctor's office, a naturopathic doctor's office, about 16 years ago. And he said, well, let's do a physical. And he put a cuff on me, and had the nurse actually put the cuff on me and take my blood pressure. And when she finished, she left the room. She came back a few minutes later with a new cuff, and she put it on me, took my blood pressure, and she left the room. And the doctor came in and he said, we thought the cuffs were broken. But more importantly, we realize now that the cuffs weren't broken. Your blood pressure is 210 over 110. And we are more concerned that you will have a stroke before you even leave my office than to even have a heart attack. So we need to get this under control. And so he prescribed some medication, which the pharmacy was right downstairs, and we got the medication, and my blood pressure started slowly coming down. Now, that was my wake-up call. And he also suggested that I go on a cleanse. Now, I had never, other than doing maybe a few juice fasts and things like that, I'd never done a more extensive cleanse. And so he recommended for 3 months that I go on a cleanse, and this would all be plant-based. And I thought, well, what do I have to lose? I don't want to be on, especially with the side effects, I don't want to be on all the medication. And I needed to lose the weight at the time. And I did for 3 months. I was on this cleanse. I lost 65 pounds. And my blood pressure went down to normal. And it was all plant-based. There was some cooked. There was a balance, but a lot of raw food, all organic. Is what he recommended as well. So this is something that empowered me at the time, because not only did I see maybe not immediate, immediate maybe over the first few weeks, seeing my blood pressure come down, but over those 3 months, it's something that really changed my course or my direction in life, my journey. And so I decided at the time, I thought, it can't, after those 3 months, I didn't go right back to eating unhealthy food. In fact, my husband and I both, he was on the 3-month cleanse as well. And he and I looked at each other and we said almost simultaneously, I think we're vegan. Now, we didn't intend to be vegan. And my husband is from Italy, straight from Italy. And we met 25 years ago. We've been together for 25 years. And he decided that he would do the cleanse with me. And we both decided that vegan was a good option. But it can't just be about salads and sprouts. That to me was, I don't want to say a death sentence, but that to me, that was not interesting. I knew there had to be more. And so what I did was I started to research, and I started to make new recipes. I started to make recipes that spoke to me, ones that were tasty, and new dressings, but clean dressings. And that's the important part. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And so we decided that we would start making even foods that we enjoyed before that were not as healthy for us. We thought we'd make some mock types of meals, such as mock egg salad. And there are some amazing recipes to do that. Crab cakes without crab, making them with jackfruit. And so my husband enjoys being Italian. We often have pasta. And so we have some cooked, but we have a balance, about 80% raw now, and about 20% is cooked. And that, and not on every day. Some days it's hot and we just want a smoothie, or we want to eat raw the whole day. It could be 100% raw. But we started looking at certain pastas and pasta sauces. And so my husband he always loved in the past bolognese. And so like a pasta bolognese. So we found a way to make that as well. To me, even tastier. And using either homemade falafels or using, certain seeds and things like that to thicken up the sauce and to make it more like a bolognese. So, and we found some wonderful even products out there, such as feta cheese and made from coconut. And so, but that's been aged and fermented and is amazing, delicious, crumbled on a salad, amazing, amazing. Aged Parmesan, things that we loved, and we were even bringing back from Italy every time we went to Italy, which was every year for a month to visit the family. We would bring back aged Parmesan and things like that. And we knew that those were no longer going to serve us. Those were not going to help me with my blood pressure or my lifestyle or inflammation or anything in the body. So we found other ways to supplement that or to make mock things. And aged Parmesan, you can, it will even melt and we can put it right on top of a pasta and you would never know the difference. So same with ice creams that are made, not just all from cashews, but ones that are made from even frozen bananas and sorbets and things like that. And so, and even yogurts made from coconut, and the coconut yogurt is phenomenal if you've never had it. So these were things that we were excited about because we needed to be excited, because to be on that cleanse for those 3 months, and then to say, okay, I guess it's just going to be just raw food and no dressings or anything, because the cleanse didn't have much in the way of dressings. And so we started to pursue a number of creative ways. And so that's kind of what led us to this kind of lifestyle. Now, we also, and I have a love affair with herbs. And herbs can play a very important role in our health, and we'll talk a little bit more about what they can do as well. But herbs are very important because there are not only to put into your salads and to spice things up. Spices and herbs are very tasty, but we also found that we had a passion for making our own ice cream from frozen bananas and herbs. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had frozen bananas. You can puree them, or even not frozen at first, but puree some bananas, take some herbs such as basil, such as holy basil or other forms of basil. There's different varieties. We have 4 different varieties in our yard. And take some basil and even the flowers and blend them up with the bananas, and then pour them into ice cube trays, and then put them through our juicer with the setting for ice cream. And it comes out as like a soft serve. But the incredible taste of those herbs in that ice cream, the sweetness from the bananas, is pretty amazing. And we also use herbs for sun tea. And we have some warm teas as well, hot teas. We'll even brew teas, even taking the whole ginger, turmeric, things like that, the whole root, and cutting it up and then putting it in some hot water and letting it steep for a while. Very medicinal. Fenugreek tea, amazing, been used for thousands of years as well. But we make sun teas. And sun teas, we let the sun do its thing. Even making herb water, if you don't have the sun, if the sun is not shining all the time, you can make it in the wintertime. It doesn't always have to be shining. Fortunately, here in the San Diego area, we do get a lot of sun. And so I've got, just to show you, we're starting another one today. These are fresh herbs, and a lot of this is mint. We also have in here some basil, some different basils, and also different mints as well. And then we also have a little bit of green stevia grown. I grow my own stevia, and a little bit of stevia leaves, and it just sweetens up that tea just beautifully. In fact, some of the teas that we use, there are a few herbs that I would recommend that are like lemon balm. It makes a wonderful tea. And there's one in particular that we really have found to be one of the tastiest, and that's lemon balm, lemongrass, chopped up and put into the sun tea. And then lemon verbena. Lemon verbena is another herb, and that is also has a wonderful medicinal properties. And then what we'll do is we'll squeeze a lemon into the water, add a little bit of the stevia leaves, 6 or 7 of them or so in there, and let the sun, let them just infuse into the water. I'm telling you, those ones right there are probably the best lemonade I've ever had, that kind of lemon tea, and very medicinal. And the reason that I bring up these herbs is that they have certain properties that can kill off pathogens, certain pathogens in the body, such as EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, the HH viruses, the human herpes viruses, and things like that. Herbs are amazing, and other foods as well. But herbs are tremendous if you can get them, even if you don't grow your own. Supermarkets have organic herbs in little containers like thyme. Thyme, there's a little plastic container that I think it's $1.99 for thyme. And thyme is an antiviral and antibacterial as well. And so infusing thyme into water can be very beneficial. Just even letting it sit on your sink overnight and then sipping on the water. And who doesn't have time for thyme, right? So we have found, even just as an example, this is rosemary. I love rosemary. We make sometimes some rosemary potatoes and even some radishes with rosemary that will roast with the potatoes. But rosemary is very particular. Not only is it high in silica, but if you take the leaves, you can also buy rosemary oil, and you crinkle the leaves a little bit and smell it. It can actually help improve your memory up to 72%. Now, there are a number of other herbs and other foods that can help with memory as well. Memory, cognitive functions, also neurological issues in the body and things like that are helping keep our systems of elimination, our systems, even our neurons and things healthy, keeping our bodies healthy. So what we have discovered, myself and my partner, over the years has been that there are thousands of different choices to make recipes from plants. I just mentioned a little bit about the herbs, but when we get into fruits and all the different fruits that there are, and there are 4 categories that we find ourselves, as far as in my research, that we can make incredible recipes for, but thousands of recipes. And when we look back on, and I'll get into those 4 categories in a minute, but when we look back on when we were eating meat and dairy as a primary, part of our diet, the where do you get your protein, aspect. And if you haven't seen the documentary, The Game Changers, I highly recommend it as well. But what we found is that there are so many more choices when it comes to plants, far more than the different ways we tried to prepare different types of meat, whether it was chicken or fish or beef or anything like that. Now, we gave up red meat a long, long time ago, way before we became vegan, but we found that there were only so many things you could kind of do. Yes, you could get creative with it in restaurants, and chefs do get creative with the different types of meats and cheeses and things like that, and combinations of those things. But what we found was that in the 4 main groups, and these are the groups that can actually help our health and help our health opportunities or our health concerns. The first one I'm going to mention is fruit, and eat the rainbow. And I don't mean that everyone should go for high glycemic types of fruits, such as just straight to bananas or things like that. But fruits in general, there's a big push right now for people jumping on the fruit equals sugar bandwagon. And fructose, yes, absolutely. But there is an incredible medicinal aspect to all fruits, and they are a critically clean carbohydrate as well. And so fruits are vital. And I know people that have talked about the keto diet, and I've researched it, and I've even had people that come to where I work at OHI, that Optimum Health Institute, that have been on the keto. And over time, by cutting out those critically clean carbohydrates, cutting off the fruit, cutting off potatoes, sweet potatoes, any of those, cutting off, a coconut, things like that, they find themselves having some issues later on. They may have lost the 10, 15, 20 pounds that they wanted to at first, but then neurological things start to happen. They start to feel that like there's something missing. And so we found, now this is not advice to everyone, this is just what I've discovered and also witnessed at OHI. But what we've discovered, my husband and I, is that fruits play a vital role in our life. And so not only in smoothies, but having fresh fruit and having even bowls of fruit or fruit salads, things like that. And then the second category is vegetables. And for fruits and vegetables, I would say eat the rainbow. This is important. There's a reason why there are colors to these fruits and these vegetables. And in particular, I'll mention one, the reds and the oranges of those. I don't mean oranges as in the fruit, but the color of red and orange when it comes to our fruits and our vegetables. There's a reason for that. And what are the phytonutrients that are in those fruits and vegetables that produce colors have an effect on the body, and a very beneficial effect in many cases. So the red and the orange is lycopene, and lycopene has been helping people in many, especially the Mediterranean diet, has helped people with certain cancers, and they have some of the lowest incidences of certain cancers as well. And so lycopene is in those red, the bell peppers, the tomatoes, the watermelon, the apricots, the orange bell peppers, things like that. And so lycopene is very, very important as well. So the colors, that's why I say eat the rainbow. Eat the rainbow when it comes to vegetables, eat the rainbow when it comes to the fruits as well. But choose ones that are going to help you on your journey. If you have a health opportunity, do some research. There are some wonderful books out there with incredible research already being done. Now, the next category, or the third category besides fruit, vegetable, is herbs and spices. Now, I talked about some herbs and making sun teas, but there are amazing herbs out there, and also spices, cayenne pepper, and I talked a little bit about garlic. Garlic, if you have a cold or a sore throat, something going on, and we're heading into the winter months or into the fall, and let's say that, God forbid, you feel sick. One of the things you can do is you can take a clove of garlic and mince it up and put it in with something that is palatable for you. It could be in some avocado, and do this at least 3 times a day. And it could also be a banana. If someone's into that in a banana, some may say, oh, gross, but no, take that garlic and put it in. It's an incredible anti-pathogen, anti-bacterial, especially if someone's having a sore throat or that kind of thing. And you'll see very quickly how that can turn around, that cold or that sore throat can turn around. So having herbs and spices, vitally important as well as a food group. And then the fourth category is wild foods. And wild foods, I don't know how many of you incorporate wild foods, but they include things like dandelions, dandelion greens. Now, the dandelion, a lot of people consider these weeds, and they can grow up through the sidewalk and in through the bricks in your backyard, that kind of thing, patio. So, but as long as they haven't been sprayed or anything, dandelions actually are edible from the root all the way up to the flower. And the dandelion is an incredible medicinal. It's high in silica, which we need silica. Many of us are very deficient in silica. We need it for our teeth. We need it for our skin. We need it for our hair. We need it for our nails. And we need it specifically, and probably more paramount, for our bones and our ligaments. They're using it in sports medicine now, silica, derived from plants. And a lot of that silica is being derived from things like the, what is this again? Oh yeah, no, I'm just kidding. It can be derived, from many different types of herbs. And one in particular is horsetail. It's a wild food, considered a wild food. And horsetail is one of the highest in silica. Now, silica is something that helps the density of your bones. It also helps the flexibility of your bones. And when we grow older, and we're over 40 or so, silica is needed, and we need it especially for the density and for that flexibility of our bones. It could be the difference between someone that's aging, stubbing their toe in the middle of the night, as opposed to someone that has brittle bone that breaks their toe in the middle of the night, banging into something. And so it can help with that flexibility. So we need silica, and there are some products out there for that are plant derived for silica. Now, rosemary is one of those that's high in silica, and also horsetail. And so a lot of these supplements can be derived from those too. So it's important for us to get wild foods. Now, another one is nettles. Stinging nettles. Now, if some of you may remember, and in Europe, for those that are listening in Europe, I'm sure you know, stinging nettles, very popular in Europe, especially when it comes to soups, stinging nettle soup or nettle soup in Italy during the spring or during certain times of the year where there's lots of nettles, they make nettle soup. Now, nettle pesto, if you've never had nettle pesto, amazing as well, but it's very high in silica as well. And nettles are very good to keep our overall health and immune system high as well. So wild foods are very important. Now, I'm just mentioning a few of them, but they, there's different wild lettuces and things like that. If you go foraging, that's something you want to definitely know what you're doing. But if you are growing or have some of these in your yard and they're not sprayed, use them. And a lot of the supermarkets are carrying them. So like your dandelion greens can be put into a smoothie, and they're very, very good for us. In fact, the dandelion root, just the root of the dandelion, making an extract, they've done studies where they found that it killed certain cancers within 48 hours, the dandelion root extract. And so there are studies being done more on these medicinal wild foods, as well as our fruits, our vegetables, and our spices and herbs. So very, very important for us. So we try to incorporate a little bit of everything into our diet. And so we have an herb garden where we're growing many, many different herbs, and we use them for the teas, and we use them in our salads, and we use them in our, mock salads and egg salad and tuna salads, all mock salads, and they're delicious. It's just amazing how that can help. If there was a suggestion that I could make, I would say it would be great if you could just follow your curiosity and read some books, do some research, because following our curiosity, and I'll give an example of myself. I had health issues, which I mentioned before, and these health issues had to do with the heart. And so I was curious, and out of the curiosity came discovering some foods that are amazing for the heart and to keep our heart healthy. Now, it doesn't mean you just eat these few little foods and then you go off to McDonald's or you go off to other places or fast food and you just kind of, eat that to say, oh, but at least I'm eating these foods. No. It's changing your lifestyle, and it's exciting when you really delve into it. So for the heart healthy foods, what I found was alfalfa sprouts. And I don't know if many of you incorporate alfalfa sprouts. You can get them now organic. I'm a big proponent of organic for sure. But heart healthy foods can include alfalfa sprouts. They can actually keep your heart healthy and also clean some of the saponins or some of the adhering into the arteries of your heart. Keep them clean. Sunflower greens, they're a complete, these are microgreens, and you can get those also at farmers markets and in the stores. They are also very heart healthy. They are incredible for us. And also radishes. I don't know how many of you incorporate radishes in your life, but radishes are a great heart healthy food, including with radishes, I would say, eat the tops, especially if you go to, let's say, the farmer's market, and they have some beautiful bunches of radishes. When you take them home, don't have them cut the tops off. Take them home. They are usually very mild. They might have a slight radish taste. They're not as strong as the radish itself. And rinse them off, because radishes tend to be pretty dirty because they're down in the soil. So definitely rinse them off very well. And take these radish tops and cut them up, tear them up, put them in your salad. They are incredible for our neurological system. They help also release or eliminate mucus in the body as well. And they're a good heart healthy food, a good probiotic, or sorry, a good prebiotic as well, which can help feed your flora. So very, very important to incorporate some of those. I would also say what I researched about the heart was shiitake mushrooms. And so we often, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, we have some shiitake mushrooms. Now, I recommend that you cook them. They have a slight toxicity. A lot of mushrooms do. If you don't cook them, just eating them raw, I don't recommend. And at the Institute where I work, we don't recommend eating mushrooms raw, but we don't serve them there because we're all raw in the three-week program there. But shiitake mushrooms, when you're at home, when you're on more of a healthy maintenance lifestyle, absolutely amazing for the heart, a good heart healthy food, shiitake mushrooms. And also watermelon is really good for the heart. It's really good for the kidneys. It's good for the liver. Overall, the watermelon is very good for the heart as well. So those are just some of the foods out of many that I've studied. And I've also studied a lot about and seen research on the liver and keeping the liver healthy. And when you think about it, you know, I told you that I went on a cleanse for 3 months. Now, our bodies are always cleansing. We are always cleansing. The liver is trying to cleanse our blood all the time. And we have certain things that are constantly bombarding our liver through our environment, what we breathe, what we put on our skin, if it has any kind of lotion or things that perfumes, things like that, things that have chemicals in them. So you want to choose wisely what you put on your skin, where you live, so you're not breathing in a lot of toxins, a lot of free radical damage that can happen in the body from those. It's on our produce that is not organic, a lot of chemicals, a lot of heavy metals and things like that. So it's very important to in studying the liver, what I discovered is that the liver, it takes the brunt of a lot of what our body is putting into it. Toxins in, toxins out. And so when you think about it, you know, I remember back in school, they said, oh, all in Europe, you know, all roads lead to Rome. Well, all health opportunities, all health concerns lead to the liver. And so in many cases, so some of the things that the liver is trying to deal with are heavy metals. And if you don't think you have heavy metals, if you've ever used the antiperspirants in the old days under the armpit, the antiperspirants that were loaded with aluminum, get a new one. If a new type of deodorant, one that is a natural one that doesn't have parabens and all kinds of other fragrances and things like that in it. And but aluminum is a heavy metal. If you have your amalgams in, now I'm not saying run out and take your amalgams out or have a dentist, but research it. And there are biodentists, and there are people that can safely remove some of the amalgam, some of the metals that are in, because those gas off as well. If you're eating tuna and you're eating cans of tuna, there's mercury. There's mercury in a lot of the food supplies and things like that, fish and things. So those are some of the heavy metals. It's in a lot of water. There's lead. There's a lot of heavy metals. Another toxin that the liver is having to deal with. Oh, and by the way, toxins like heavy metals also can feed certain pathogens. Certain pathogens in the body actually eat up or survive off of some of the heavy metals. So it's important to get those out of the body. And another one is radiation. Radiation, we are exposed to 4G, 5G. In some cases, people are putting their cell phones right up against their head. Very important for us to realize that that also can lead to health opportunities as well. And then the third area is pathogens. And these pathogens, and I'm not going to go into it, but for those that are doctors or those that understand pathogens, basically the top pathogens that we usually talk about where I work are having to do with virals. And so viruses, and then bacterials as well, such as streptococcus and other bacterials, and then also fungals and molds as well. And so the body, including the liver, has to deal with a lot of those, trying to filter a lot of that out. So if you are eating certain foods that help eliminate some of those toxins, especially when you look at heavy metals, and you look at chemicals in the body that the liver is having to deal with, and the body overall, even our lymph system is having to deal with, there are certain foods that can help the liver, that can actually start to clean the liver. That's why I said we're always cleansing. Why not choose the foods that are continually helping your liver and helping your body cleanse? Because look, we live in a time right now where we are literally fatting, fatting, ourselves to death. Now, this is happening, and you can look at it in packaging, and you can look at it in so many things, and there's so many fad diets and things like that that have to do with more fat, oils, even if it's vegan. There's junk food vegan, don't get me wrong. That's why when I say clean vegan, the ones that are not deep fried, the ones that are not using canola oil and things like that, we are really in trouble when it comes to the liver. They say 9 out of 10 of us have sluggish livers, which means that the liver is gunked up with a lot of these toxins that I just mentioned. And the liver is constantly trying to help us, and it's constantly trying to eliminate them. And it can't always eliminate them. So that's why we need to have a cleanse, or eat cleansing food, so your liver has an opportunity to flush those out, to get a lot of those toxins out of the body. Another one, the fourth of those four, so we talked about heavy metals, radiation, pathogens, but the fourth is toxic chemicals. If you have cleaning products in your house that are dangerous, please change them. I highly recommend. Not only would you be breathing them, you can get them on your skin and things like that. If you have personal care products that are not clean personal care products, I'm not here to promote or say anything about any other kind of personal care product, but there are really good ones out there. So research those. There's good resources now online. The EWG, the Environmental Working Group, has the Dirty Dozen, the most heavily sprayed crops that there are. And I don't know if you know, the top of the list has been for years is strawberries. Strawberries are heavily sprayed. And so you want to buy organic. And then also apples. Apples can be sprayed 15 or 16 times. And that's on the EWG's list, Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. Definitely a nonprofit worth looking at and making some clean choices. But when you look at chemicals in our environment, in the water, have filtered water. Filter out the fluoride, filter out the leads, the chlorine, things like that are harmful to us. So very important to get those toxins out of the body. And our body is always trying to cleanse. So doing a cleanse a few times a year, not such a bad thing, to do a major cleanse and really get the organs clean, and then maintain with a healthier lifestyle. This is not a boring lifestyle. I can tell you from experience now, I've been at OHI for 8 years. And I was executive chef there for a couple of years and then shifted into teaching. And it is phenomenal from week to week what I see there. And so I highly recommend that you cleanse, even at home, do some cleanses. Don't go into just a water cleanse. And I'm not putting a water cleanse down. I'm just saying, be careful, because a lot of toxins, if your liver is gunked up with a lot of toxins, and to do a water fast, it can spread those toxins to other organs in the body, including the brain. And you can wind up with neurological issues, or with, let's say, brain fog and fatigue and things like that after doing that cleanse. It's not for everyone at first. You need to have a really clean liver before you do something like that. But I'm talking about eating foods and eating, food, even if it's a juice fast for a day or so, giving your digestive tract a break for a day or so. Important to stop that peristalsis, give yourself a break, very important as well. So there are also things that we have avoided in our life, and these, and it's not a huge list, but it's a list that definitely is worth noting. And so we have avoided some things such as gluten. Certain glutens, or gluten, the gluten factor in this country alone is very high. Different than in Europe and different than in other places. But in general, gluten can also feed pathogens. And so it's one that we have avoided. Now, this is our personal take on it. I'm not telling you about any of these things I'm going to list on the avoid list for you to run out and just avoid all of those. But do some research or look into it, okay? So gluten is one. Another one is meat. Obviously, we're vegan. So meat and dairy. Eggs is another one. Canola oil, absolutely not. Canola oil is one that we avoid like the plague. And another one is soy, and another one is corn. Now, those are the main ones that we avoid. Now, there are some other things that we, prefer not to eat, whatever, but that's a personal preference as well. But for health reasons, if there was one food that I would say, if you had a health opportunity, especially if it's around the area of a pathogen, then I would say avoid eggs. Now, maybe we'll get people getting upset about that part. That's usually when I teach that in my class, or I mention that in the class, I have people putting their fingers in the la 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 la. I don't want to hear this. What are you talking about? Avoid eggs. Well, if you think about it, if we had a petri dish for each pathogen, so we have a round petri dish here, another one, another one, another one, and we had in one of them in the petri dish, and all four of these petri dishes were filled with an egg medium. And in one of them, so it could be even egg whites, even the egg yolks, whatever. But if it had an egg medium in it, and one of them we put a virus, and another one we put a bacterial, and then the third one we put a mold, and then the fourth one we put a fungus. They will eat up that egg and they will grow like crazy. And in many cases, people that have certain pathogens or health opportunities around pathogens in their body, they are feeding them. And so eggs, and why not take a break? Take a break and try some mock egg salads and try some other. There's even some products out there. There's a few of them out there. Simply Eggless, I think, is one that's cleaner than Just Egg. Just Egg has canola oil in it, and that's something that we avoid. But there are some that are cleaner if you really have to have that taste of egg or whatever. But these mock salads, even raw mock salads, are amazing tasting. And so that's one that I would say really avoid. And if there was one wild food that I would highly recommend as well, and we incorporate it in many ways into our diet here, in our smoothies and things like that, it would be wild blueberries. And wild blueberries are amazing because they kill pathogens. They remove heavy metals from the body. Cilantro removes heavy metals from the body. There are a number of foods, even wheatgrass does, and parsley and burdock root. I mean, there are so many that can remove heavy metals, even zeolites. For those that are familiar with zeolites, zeolite is a mineral that is almost like microscopically. When you look at it up close, it's like little cages, little tiny cages, and it comes from lava and from ash. When they meet seawater, they turn into these little cages. It's a powder, and that can safely remove heavy metals because it's negatively charged. Each cage is negatively charged, and it attracts heavy metals right into it, and then it will safely remove it from the body. So there are a number of things out there to get a lot of these toxins out of the body. So that's our avoid list. Not too huge: gluten, meat, dairy, eggs, canola oil, soy, and other highly processed oils as well. But having some olive oil, we do use olive oil. I'm very Italian, and we get really good olive oil, not mixed with canola or anything like that. And we also use some other high heat oils like coconut oil that takes a high heat, avocado takes a high heat as well, grapeseed can also take a high heat. So very important to at least do some research. Now, moving forward, I would say that for someone that this is fairly new with, it would be to clean your kitchen, clean out the pantry, clean everything. Get the kinds of tools or equipment that you need, a good blender, a juicer, things like that. And there are recommendations. I'm one of the founders of a nonprofit website, which is a resource site called Kale University, K-A-L-E University.org. Make sure it's .org. And our goal is to really get free information out to people about many things. There's lots of articles on there. There's some recipes. We're building it. It's slowly building out. But I would say, at least try to get some resources and discover some of the things that you can do to have a healthier lifestyle. Read labels. I can't tell you how important that is, to read labels. There are new products coming out all the time, or even some of your old products that you've liked and enjoyed. read the labels. Sometimes they're changing things on you. They're adding in now all of a sudden something that you liked if you're buying something that's processed that is you thought was very clean. Now they've added canola oil into it, or they've added, you know, MSG or some other things into it. So read labels, absolutely. Find clean recipes, and there are wonderful recipes online. I would say this is my shameless plug for my book. I do have a book out. And this is called I don't know if you can see it here, My Sacred Kitchen, and it's full of recipes. And there's also another book that I was involved in, and this has over 100 recipes in it as well. It's called Clean Green Eating. I don't know, on my screen I'm seeing it backwards, but anyway, that's available on Amazon as well. But find clean recipes, because there's a lot, like I said, vegan food and plant-based food. There's a lot of junk out there. And so you want to find ones that actually speak to you, ones that, you know, sound tasty, look tasty, that kind of thing, but also have clean ingredients in them. Also, besides recipes, is, you know, look, if you are going to look for any products or there are things that you like out there, just as an example, this is just to give you an idea of how wide this arena is and how amazing it is. There are things like, I married an Italian, so we're going to have pasta. This is a pasta that we love. It's called Jovial, and it's organic, it's grain-free, it's made from cassava root, and it's fantastic. And it's probably one of the best ones, besides the ones made with corn, which we avoid, but also besides the ones that are just made with brown rice, which we occasionally have, but always buy organic. Another one, if you like tofu, an alternative, and it's starting to hit a lot of health food stores now, is called Pumfu. And Pumfu is amazing. 2 ingredients in it. It's all organic, and it's made from pumpkin seeds and purified water. That's it. And they press it into like a firm tofu, but made from pumpkin seeds, called Pumfu. And that one is amazing. I mentioned earlier a little bit about jackfruit. This is a canned jackfruit, but you can also get them in pouches. This is organic jackfruit, and you can use jackfruit to make mock sloppy joes. You can use it to make your crab cakes as well. Amazing crab cakes. You will swear that you are having crab cakes. I had friends over for dinner, and they said, "There's no way these aren't crab cakes." And I said, "It's made from jackfruit." And so there are wonderful recipes out there and available for you. Make sure that water when you drink water, that it's purified. That's very important as well. Also, as a tip, since we're talking about moving forward, I would say also that surround yourself with positive people. That is so important. We do, and it's, you know, there's a couple of quotes I want to read here. One is, avoid negative people. They have a problem for every solution. Now, that was written by Albert Einstein. And another one, because I'm big on learning. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. Now, that's a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. If you are into documentaries, I highly recommend documentaries. They can educate you, they can move you forward very quickly. I have just a little list. Also, if you do go to kaleuniversity.org, there is under videos, there's a recommended documentary list. Some of these may be on there, are on there. Some of them may not be, because we're going to add some more there. But fantastic fungi, worth seeing. My Octopus Teacher, as well. And I know many of you, I was just rooting for them winning the Academy Award, and I'm so happy that they did. Biggest Little Farm. Another one, fairly new one that we have found is In Search of Balance. The Game Changers, amazing, especially when you want to know about a little bit more about protein, food-based, plant-based protein. The Earthing movie, for those that aren't grounding, it's worth watching that, because that can help your health amazingly as well. There's a newer one out called Endgame 2050, worth watching as well. So many others. Some of them are listed on our site, so worth knowing about. Make it an adventure. That's really what it comes down to. Make it an adventure and calm your mind. Really get out into nature. Listen to music. These are ways to calm your mind. These are meditate. for those that are into yoga or into certain practices and spiritual martial arts or different things like that. These are all ways that can help the body and help you calm the body. And so when you have a clean diet, when you are calming the mind, a certain spirituality arises in you, and that's up to each person. No one's here to preach or talk about any kind of spirituality, but it happens when you have a calm mind and when you have a clean body working together. So be open to information that's out there as well. So there are many, 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 many sources, and there will be many, many more. And look, we discovered, this is our opinion, I'm not saying this for anyone out there unless this resonates with you, but if you're going to wait, and I hear this all the time, if you are going to wait for the peer reviews and the double-blind studies done on these herbs and spices and the things that we talked about, there is more research happening. But if you're going to wait for those peer reviews and those double-blind studies, many of us will be waiting for literally decades. Now, many people don't have decades to wait to discover what we are discovering, what people in the health industry is discovering, are healing. They're healing us. And we are treating food like medicine. Let thy medicine be thy food, and let thy food be thy medicine. So it's very, very important. I also would suggest filling your life with love, peace, joy, great health choices. That's important as well. If you go out, I'm not saying change your diet from meat or anything. Know your source. Know where it comes from. Make sure that what you're eating is as clean as you can. And if you go out, make choices that are clean choices. Just by having the courage, and believe me, this does take courage. I see it every week, every day that I work at the Optimum Health Institute, the people and the courage that it takes to shift their lifestyle. And in some cases, some people may dig their heels in and they may say, I'll change religion, but don't make me change my diet. Well, that's a choice as well. And it does take courage. And it takes courage to find these resources, like I mentioned, reach out to people, that kind of thing. And I want to leave you with just a few things here, some quotes. And, one, look, you can't force someone to comprehend a message that they are not yet ready to receive. Still, you must never underestimate the power of planting a seed. Another one of the quickest ways back, to a state of homeostasis in the body, to balance the body, is through clean eating. And I know that a lot of you are maybe even new to this, or you're curious about it, and I applaud you for your courage as well. And this quote really resonated with me, and this is by Cecil Tova-Levin from her book titled Cooking for Regeneration. It's titled Miracle of Miracles. Vegetables, as well as all foods, should be handled and treated with the greatest respect. They are the synthesis of the forces of heaven and earth, giving themselves to us so that we can live. They are closer to us than our family and friends, actually transforming themselves into our very body and healing us of our sickness. This process is a miracle of miracles and borders on the sacred. And just let me see, there's, I think, a couple more here. Oh, one is, if you find people that you're arguing with, or the people they just want to, not be open to at least hearing different sides of this and the research in it. This was, I don't know who said this, but this was sent to me by a friend. You cannot talk butterfly language with caterpillar people. All right, one more quote, and I'll leave you with this one, and it's titled Courage. Courage is elegantly stepping back and away from a life that does not reflect your power and your strength. It is joyously starting to create realities that reflect your truths. The opposite of courage is not cowardice. The opposite of courage is hushed or silent conformity. All right. Well, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for hearing me go on here for however 45, 50 minutes or whatever it was. And I just want to encourage you to research, to, enjoy your life. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. And I also want to thank ASPE for all of the work that they did, and especially Martin. We had a wonderful connection at the Optimum Health Institute, and I'm so happy that he reached out. And so I want to thank you all. Thank you very much, and I welcome questions.